and welcome to RedRisks Media. This is a live event. Things can go wrong. Please stick with us while we try and sort some of those gremlins out. We live stream to LinkedIn, to YouTube, and to Twitter, sometimes to Facebook, so please do join us on these live events. We'd welcome you to subscribe to our newsletter. No spam, I promise. It's only about the live events that are coming up. Now, enough of that. Let's just get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Stream team in the house. How are you, everyone?
Good evening.
We had a cracking show yesterday with Diane Chadwick-Jones. I think the network was buzzing. I think at one stage Aaron said he couldn't.
It went down a storm, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Aaron said he couldn't get on because the servers had crashed or something. And also a fantastic show today. It's a great time to catch up with Jimmy Quinn, who was on the show in March, and we positioned a few items for discussion on a continuous basis. So I'm really pleased that Jimmy has decided to continue this with us and give us his journey within IOSH as he shapes some of these things. But before we dive into that, I've got a little introduction to Jimmy. If you don't know Jimmy, it's just a short introduction to give you a little bit of background as to Jimmy's profile. Okay, so let's run that VT and then we'll get Jimmy on the show and then start things off. Okay, here we go.
James, or Jimmy Quinn, is IOSH's 54th president. He's a senior health and safety manager for International Construction Contractor Multiplex. He's also a chartered fellow of IOSH. He's also the vice chair of the IOSH Construction Group. After a very successful 24-year career in the British Army, Jimmy attained the rank of warrant officer. He left the Army in 2011. In his final 6 years of Army service, he began to appreciate the benefits of health and safety as a second career. Using his Army appointments, he started to train as a health and safety advisor and a trainer in 2006. Without further ado, let's welcome onto the show, Jimmy Quinn.
Jimmy Quinn, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good evening, Jimmy.
Hello. Hello. Thanks, Sonny. Fantastic. Thank you.
We've got a packed show today in terms of not only stream team, but I think some of the chat's already starting. So as you know, Jimmy, way back in March, we positioned a few items to sort of have a theme of discussions on. And we had veterans, we had mental health on there as well, and professional development. Now, there were a few others on there, but I think the show is going to be packed up if we just discuss those three. So what we'd like to do is just sort of pass it between us and then open up some discussions. And everybody on chat, you know, if you've got any specific questions on any of those, please do ask. And at the end, if you've got something else you want to ask, we've left enough time so you can also ask Jimmy about that as well. So I've got a fairly easy job today. I'm just going to feed the live chats in. I'm going to pass it on to the wonderful stream team who are on, starting with Mal, to talk a little bit about veterans, and we'll go from there. So Mal, over to you.
Thanks very much. Good evening, team. Good evening, Jimmy. And thanks once again for gracing us with your presence. I'm sure your time is really, really busy. As you can see from the chat already, we have quite a lot of people coming online. We've got our usuals, Vince Butler, Wayne Oliver. I'm sorry, I can't say SM's name. I can't pronounce that at all. I do apologize. And a few others. I'm not sure, but we'll get on with that. So, Jimmy, for me, I'd like to talk about or discuss very briefly veterans. And in particular, I want us to consider the Armed Forces Covenant. So the covenant itself, as you know, exists to ensure that service personnel and veterans and their families are not disadvantaged as a result of their service. I mean, that means because they are posted overseas, they spend a lot of time out of the UK, and so they're not in on the local networks. Now, the covenant itself has been signed up by 6,800 companies to date, and the latest one was just a few days ago. The terms and conditions that they look at to sign the Armed Forces Covenant is that an organization can demonstrate its intention to support the armed forces community and provides the signatory with an opportunity to be recognized by the Employer Recognition Scheme, which is the ERS award. An ERS award shows that the recipient is delivering tangible support for the armed forces community. And this is right across all forces, Army, Air Force, Navy. The MOD, the Ministry of Defence, as the representatives of HM government, welcomes these commitments and is grateful for the support being pledged and provided. However, even although you may sign the AFC, nor achieving an ERS award should be taken to imply that the MOD endorsement of an individual or an organisation. Looking at it from an ex-soldier's point of view, a lot is owed to our armed forces. They never whinge, or rarely they whinge, but they do get on with the job. They don't ask for time off or pay rises. They get paid for doing the job that they love. They thrive on teamwork at the forefront. They have a different mentality and proud to serve without drama. And when there's a crisis, our armed forces are always there when others are not. I mean, let's take this last year for COVID, where we called on a number of regiments throughout the UK to support the NHS. And there are currently over 1,000 military people embedded in the NHS system. And just to end that bit, my local golf club has just taken on an ex-Royal Marine. He was suffering with PTSD and has been off work for quite some time. But we've given him a chance. And he says, I can't believe, I can quote from him, I spoke to him yesterday morning. He said, I can't believe I get paid for cutting grass outdoors. What a life. So my big question to you, Jimmy, is where does IOSH stand in this line?
Well, there's some great statements and some great questions there, Mal. I mean, let's be honest here. I think everybody knows my sort of history, 22-year serviceman. And I've been very vocal since the day that I took to council in 2015-16 about the attributes of veterans, armed force personnel. I even sat on the Institute of Directors in Scotland 2 years ago, and they asked me, where's the next big stream of employment? Who would fill those gaps of employment in Scotland? I said, well, you've got thousands of forces, veterans, whether they're in their 20s or 30s or 40s, leaving every year in Scotland. There's a great employment pool. Why? Because we're so forward-facing. We've got a sound like Liam Neeson here out of Taken. We have a unique set of skills. You know, we're sort of broken, whether you're Navy, Army, Air Force, in the nicest possible way. You're reshaped, you're remolded. Some people use the word institutionalized. I see retrained, refocused. And from my own perspective as a young 17-year-old, it changed my life. Now, to get to the answers to your questions, over the last 2 years, 3 years, I've been banging at that door. IOSH, we need to be looking after our veterans. IOSH, what are we doing? IOSH, why are we not at the Career Transition Partnership? IOSH, why are we not doing this? And we are doing it now. So in terms of what we're doing is we know that IOSH have recently allowed me in my presidential year to set up a LinkedIn page for IOSH Armed Forces and Veterans, which we've done. Over 350 members in that group at the moment after, 2.5 months, which is fantastic, and that'll go from strength to strength. And in terms of what we're doing, I set up a focus group in my presidential year that's been run by a cracking lad called Matt Jackson, ex-Royal Engineers, vice-chaired by a great guy, Simon Donnelly, ex-Signals. And it's a mixture of civilians and veterans working together to create how we're going to create this opportunity, because IOSH don't actually know how many veterans are IOSH members. They don't, because it's not a question that they ask. The person that comes in, they don't ask about your forces background. So we just had a survey, and we're going to find out some of that information and start using that as a database to then start supporting our veterans through IOSH. In terms of the question you asked about where does IOSH sit in the Armed Forces Covenant, it's quite funny because as soon as I came back to multiplex in the UK from the Middle East, one of the first things I started talking about was the Armed Forces Covenant, Mal. And we've recently just submitted our silver one, because everybody knows you can sign up to the bronze one, as you indicated there, and that's you just saying, yes, we're happy to employ forces personnel or veterans, and that's great. The silver award goes a little bit further, but what we've done in multiplex, in my multiplex job, is we've went for the gold standard for the silver award, and that was submitted on the 26th of April through Phil, our representative in the Armed Forces Covenant, which is fantastic. In terms of IOSH, I've already started stirring that pot in conversations with Richard Doughton, one of the senior leadership team directors, and I've also just stirred it a little bit more with Bev Messenger. Bev Messenger comes from a forces family. I don't think she mind me telling me that. Her father was a Coldstream Guardsman, and she's a big fan of it as well. So there's about, I think there's 6 in the last count, veterans that work for IOSH at the Grange when they get back there. And so I hope that sort of answers your question in a sort of roundabout way, Mal. We're on board, it's getting done, and I'm kicking indoors. So that's about
Good.
it.
I'm happy for that. Just don't kick in too many doors, because we don't want you ending up like Johnny Mercer, who has ended up being kicked back, I think, all because he's not being supported. But I'm pretty sure that you would get full support from all IOSH members, particularly those who are veterans or ex-veterans and have done some service. I mean, you know as well as I do, as an ex-serviceman, the skills that are embedded into soldiers are second to none. The skills that they learn, you know, are things that you don't get taught in what we still term as Civvy Street. No offense intended to anybody who's not served, but we know that civvies are not taught the man management skills, the team skills that are ingrained from day one into all soldiers and all walks of life of soldiers. It doesn't matter whether they are missile experts, radar experts, or drivers, or even infantrymen. They all have this ingrained learning system that is the same throughout the entire armed forces. And yeah, it's great to see that you have a group which is actually working towards that, Jimmy. And I just hope that they bring that out and make it a bit more vocal, because currently, as I just said, it appears that IOSH is not a member of this armed forces. They've not yet signed up, but I'm sure that that's in the process of happening.
Yeah, they are. I mean, there's no way that they can't be in the biggest sense of the word. Then something will happen, and I've already broached this a few times. And I think the senior leadership team are a little bit more. They're more sighted in that, and they'll see the value in it as well. You can't have the IOSH president, veteran, 24-year veteran taking over as IOSH president, and doing all the stuff we're doing in veterans, and not go, hold on a minute, there's an opportunity here. So an opportunity in the best possible way, not commercial opportunity. Big way. No, I agree with everything you said there, Mal. Brilliant, mate.
I mean, let me just highlight one or two of the things that's been said now by our people who are following us on the chat line. Lou Gardner is saying that we in the armed forces conduct daily risk assessments and enforce safety standards. We believe we have something to offer our civilian counterparts in business. I totally agree, Lou. Absolutely true. And Jimmy will also agree with that, being an ex-soldier. We know that the standards within the military, and we're talking about JSPs 341, DEF stands 4044. These are all standards that have been around for a long time, and they all aim at safety within the system. So it doesn't matter where you are in your career, you will get taken through a step-by-step process within the Army for the equipment that you were working with. And every part of that step include all the safety required before you actually, for lack of a better word, before you let loose out into the wide world with your equipment. So what's Jim? Let me just have a quick look at what Vince is saying.
Mal, while you're doing that, can I just throw something in? I
Yes,
think
please.
with Jimmy at the helm, it's the first time that I've seen the veterans piece actually raised. So applaud Jimmy for doing that.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to actually say is that a lot of the times we don't think of veterans as being able to offer an enormous amount post their service. And it is very true that they're doing so much, but not really getting recognition. And I think we have to raise that awareness and that profile so that people do actually see. And in fact, some veterans will need to realize as well that there is a life after service. So it's a combination of everything. And I think what you're doing, Jimmy, in terms of raising that bar and that awareness is something that needs to be done. It's been long overdue. And, we're really applaud that. I put a quick banner up saying there is a group on LinkedIn if people want to join up, especially, ex-veterans. So please, no problem, take that up. Sorry, Mal, over to you again.
It's okay. I was just looking at what Vince has just put up. And actually, Vince, it does. I'm taking the part of veterans tonight because I'm a veteran. Although your question is not directly related to.
Let's leave that question. And I'll answer that question with Vince offline.
Yes, please. Yeah, if you Jimmy.
Yeah, I'd rather not detract from the agenda we've got tonight, if that's okay, Sonny.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Vince, apologies. I think these questions we will need to pick up in the future, and I know this is something that you're very passionate about, so we will pick that one up. Just staying on the agenda that we've got a bit at the end. If we've got time, we'll cover it, but if we don't, we'll have to do it on another show. So, Mal, is there anything else you want to focus on?
No, yeah. I think that's been a quick brushstroke across veterans. And thanks very much for your answers on that, Jimmy. And I hope or wish your team all the success in getting it off the ground. And with that,
sorry, Mal. I'm going to be checking your name against the list of names that have joined the IOSH Armed Forces and Veterans group on LinkedIn. So
Mal's on there.
In the next couple of days.
Yeah, Mal is definitely on there because we shared the link through RedRisks. In fact, Lou Gardner is also on there as well.
Yeah, I know Lou is.
Just from a civvy perspective, as I said, it's incredibly honourable what you're doing, and power to you for doing that. Keep it going, keep that candle burning. And folks, if you're a veteran and you're watching this, don't feel there's nothing else there. Get in touch, get connected. Connect, share, and learn.
You don't even have to be an IOSH member, Sonny.
Yeah, that's true as well.
You don't have to be an IOSH member anywhere in the world.
Yeah. It's not IOSH specific. It's only veterans and veterans of Army, Navy, etc.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, good. Mal, thanks. You pass it back over to Jeanette.
No, I just want to say, I'm just throw the baton over. It's that way, or is that? I can't see what in your camera. But
it's difficult to tell.
Jeanette, and Jeanette will now take on the subject of mental health. Jeanette, over to you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mal. Hi, everyone. Hello, the world. Jimmy, nice to have you on our live show. Can you hear me well? I think I have some disruptions in my connection. Okay. I think the next topic will be with regards to mental health and well-being. I think you would agree that this topic becomes one of the most topic number one, especially now when we're talking about COVID. And looking at that topic, we used to talk about mental health. I would prefer saying mental health and well-being. So it's like two in one. And I know that for many years, mental health become one of the taboo or stigmatized topics. And today, looking at what has been done on what we're going through with COVID and talking about mental health, we know that IOSH is doing a lot to promote topics related to mental health and well-being. For example, looking at the courses, looking at the evidence, systematic reviews, table talks, looking at the reviewing of the forthcoming ISO 45003 standards, But I think if you're looking at the numbers, like 69% of line managers, they are not able to recognize the first symptoms of mental health issues in their workers and employees. And there is a need, I believe, to talk more and more about mental health and well-being, and maybe to look at that from the point of practical perspective. It's like, okay, theory is there, but now it's time to move on and to prepare and make sure that we do have plans in place and start implementing them step by step in our organizations. And I think my question will be around how do you think, looking up during this COVID period, Jimmy, do you think there is a need to look at this topic differently? Do you think we're ready for that? And what type of resources and sources are available looking at the IOSH and how IOSH stands on that?
Wow, that's a can of worms, isn't it? So we can talk about Jimmy Quinn, President IOSH, and we can also talk about Jimmy Quinn's view. So Jimmy Quinn IOSH, we set up one of my other focus groups. I was allowed to set up 2 focus groups. Anybody who doesn't understand the role of the chair of council, I, in my own capacity as chair of council, can initiate 2 focus groups. This was originally started a couple of years back by the then president. Golly, can't remember Craig's second name. Sonny will help me in a minute. But Craig sorted that out, and basically what happened was, I've got 2 focus groups. One of them's veterans, one of them's mental health. So in my eyes, the most sought after person on any construction site following the lockdown, and then probably in industry as well, was the health and safety practitioner. Never before have we become more desired, more respected, and more influential. So that enhanced collaborate, absolutely, and that influence, absolutely. So my worry was about not so much the health and safety practitioners are part of big companies, but the health and safety practitioners, and I go back to sort of counsellors. When someone's a counsellor, they need their own counsellor when they're counselling. People will know that. So in terms of health and safety practitioners, if you're a single health and safety practitioner, a one-person band working, then I think there's a real issue there that we should be looking at. So I set up the mental health focus group with Keith Hall chairing it, one of my counsellors, and Joe Price vice chairing it, to come up with all these ideas of how we can look after the IOSH, not IOSH, but health and safety practitioners that are in IOSH, for instance, and how we can reach out to them and how we can make sure that they're well. So there's that part of it that's all going on as well, and I think there's an issue there. In terms of Jimmy Quinn, I feel there's a massive issue, Jeanette, because I think the train is just about to leave the platform when it comes to mental health. You know, I've got a 22-year-old son who's just about to finish university, banking on a BSc, wants to be an officer at Sandhurst in September. Going through his dissertation, was told with weeks to go that his dissertation was scrapped. He had to come up with a new idea. So he's working on a lot of his past exam notes when he got first, so he's good. Thinking about the children as well that come through now. We're thinking about all those mental health parts that haven't even been talked about yet, how people are going to be coming through the next year or so, how that's looking. That's a massive problem for me as well. And in terms of where we're going, I don't think we've even scratched the surface, Jeanette. I was talking to my good friend, Matt Jackson, who's the head of health and safety in the Middle East for WSP, on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. And that was the one thing we started talking about, was that in terms of mental health, you can go up to someone and say, how are you today? Yeah, I'm fine. But you're not asking a question. You're just making a comment or a statement. We need to understand what that question means. And we need to be able to learn how to explore those questions in order to help people with their mental health. Does that make any sense, Jeanette?
Yeah, it does. It does. Like yesterday, I asked my son, actually, the school asked our children, he's 18, if they want to be back to school for 1 month. And the answer was no. And that's scary, because it's like, I think at some point we started losing that balance and start, I think, misunderstanding where we are. And that will require, I think, looking at the problems and that home office, distance, social distancing, and how much we're ready to be, a return to work issues is going to be there as well. And I'm so happy we have Darren Sutton on site today in our chat, who is dealing with behavioral safety. Hi, Darren. Nice to see you.
Point. I think there's a great point there, Jeanette, that Darren's just made. I did a lot of work with Rusty Earnshaw back in the day, because I was the coaching lead for the Army at one point in terms of coach development. And I know Darren. I've known Darren for years and years and years. We've been the same friends for the last 20 years or more. And Rusty Earnshaw is doing amazing things in using rugby as a vehicle as well, and doing stuff in sport, which is fantastic. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this outside play and that practical stuff, and teaching children through coaching as well, which is going to be a great thing. I think I would love to see more outside stuff as well, which would be great. But no, I absolutely applaud you for bringing up that question, Jet, because we're not even scratching the surface, and we've got a long way to go, and it's just going to become more and more and more. We're going to have to get ahead of it.
I think it's. Sorry,
just a last comment on that, Jimmy. We ran the live show I think 2 weeks ago, and then we had one professor from university. I don't know the data and the source of that data, but they told us that in 10 years, well-being manager is going to be the most wanted job on the market, and the requirements for the mental health and well-being manager will be increased by 500%. So, and I think we're going slowly to that level of competencies that might be required on the market. Is like well-being.
My friend turned around to me a couple of months ago. I need to be very careful what I say here, because she's got a job with a first-year construction company that I may know. And she signed the paperwork, so everything's good. And she said to me, Jimmy, I need a new change in my life. And she said, I'm fed up being a nurse. I love being a nurse, but I can't be a nurse. I want to get into health and safety. And I said, get into health and safety. And she said, well, but I don't want to leave my nursing. I said, listen, trust me, a nursing background, well-being background, all the stuff with a health and safety ticket, I think you're going to be well sought after. And I'm not wrong. So a great point, Jeanette. Absolutely. Great point.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you so much. Charlie.
I just want to add a couple of things. Mental health and well-being is the new iceberg, isn't it? I mean, we see it, but we see the iceberg. We're heading towards it, and yet have we got a plan? Who knows? I think it was either Peter Kelly or Professor Ivan Robertson who said that. So you're right in what you said there, Jeanette.
I think there's a connection here between what Mal's talking about, Jeanette, with regards to veterans, and I just want to balance this out a little bit, Mal, as much as anything else. There are an awful lot of veterans that are suffering. And I see it on a regular basis in the news and on social media. There's an awful lot of veterans that come out, whether they're soldiers, army, navy, whatever, or the police or fire, that come out and really don't know what to do. There's an awful lot of homeless veterans. I read about that in the press as well. I think with regards to IOSH and what they're doing with veterans, it provides them with an opportunity to speak to like-minded people. It gives them an opportunity to experience perhaps the same camaraderie that they had within the forces. They're speaking to like-minded people. There's the team ethos and all that sort of stuff. But I just want to balance try and connect the two that Mal and Jeanette have been talking about, that an awful lot of armed forces veterans and an awful lot of perhaps even those that have come from the other sort of blue light services and things like that do finish those careers with some heavy luggage, and some of them don't make it. And I think that IOSH, with regards to that veteran aspect and opening up and saying there's a family here, you've just left one family, welcome to this one, I think is beneficial to an awful lot of the people that come out of the forces and obviously the blue light services. Sorry, Mal, you were going to say?
Yes, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think one of the major problems that I've experienced is that the armed forces, for guys who served 10 plus years, I mean, I said I've done 22, but for those that have done 10 plus years, even those that have done 5 plus years, for that 5 plus years, you are covered by this big umbrella, and the umbrella takes into account everything that you need to do to survive. Even from if you're talking about your daily washing, drying, cleaning, getting your medical checkup, getting your dental checkup. It's all done on a very, very regular basis. And when you finish your time in the army, you suddenly don't have that safety net there to help you. And there are a lot of guys who can't actually cope with that. And this is where this mental well-being comes into play. And this is, I think this is a part or an area, certainly for us, that we could concentrate on with regards to mental health. And that's finding this balance that would help these guys transition from a military background to a civilian background. Because even today, I will say civilians do things very, very differently.
I agree. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I wanted to just say and come into on that one as well, from yourself, Charlie, and Marlon, and Jeanette, is that, let's be honest, I mean, the armed forces are getting much better, and they've got much better over the years in terms of mental health and recognising it, which is a great thing. We still have people leaving with massive issues. Yeah, we do know that. In terms of me, I've gone on the record quite a lot in saying this. I struggled 2007 to 2009 really badly. And the worst thing that I did was I left the armed forces and did not keep my brother and sisterhood next to me. And I cut them off. And you're absolutely right, Charlie. Then I found the southwest branch, the southeast branch, southwest branch, joined it, realised there was a couple of people there that were veterans. But not only that, I fell into that sort of family again. And that's one thing that's really helped me to where I am now, is having that IOSH family. And I've gone on record many times about that, Charlie.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely. Like I said, I just wanted to balance this mental health and the veteran issue out, because it is an awful lot of homeless and things like that. But that's another issue. But I think that aspect of connecting those and bringing it home to, as you were saying, Jimmy, is very important as much as anything else. Okay, I kind of serious subjects. Then I want to bring this on to something I think is going to be a very hot topic for all of us now and going forward. Certainly in the short term and also going forward, and that is professional status. Now, I understand there was going to be spring this year when the Blueprint 2.0 was going to be fully up and running, and it was going to be published. I've been out of the country for a while, and I'm not sure exactly where we are with that at the moment. Jimmy, Blueprint 2.0, tying it in with our CPD, it's all integrated and things like that. Was it going to be out this year, this spring?
Yes, there's been some issues. There is. No, it's all. No,
I said I wasn't going to put you on the spot earlier.
No. Listen.
Sorry.
Listen. You've done it. That's fine. There has been issues, and a lot of that's been put down to the rusty old vehicle, so to speak, that was the platform we had in terms of our technical expertise, and that had to be totally revamped. Now, there's a couple of well-versed, I wouldn't say excuses, statements have come out about this, and that's one of the parts, is having that platform ready to support it all was particularly, it's been problem after problem after problem. Now, they've finally got that there now, but now we've got some issues in terms of where we're going to go forward with the new framework. Yes, okay. You're right.
I think you're right. You can't just have a complete change without going through these niggles and ironing them out and things like that, and saying, look, okay, we're now ready to go, guys. It may not be 100% when we start going, but I think you're doing the right thing and taking your time with it and working through those problems. Couple of kind of high bullet points here, and I had a conversation a couple of weeks back with two of my colleagues. Both of them are in quite senior positions, and we were just chatting in general and stuff like that. But the conversation got around to fellowship, and I think those two and myself said for us personally at this moment, it's not on the agenda. But I think personally going forward, I think that market forces, the recruitment consultants, the recruitment process, HR, and all that sort of thing, I think that there will be an impact of or an aspect of having to do it, not wanting to do it, because I think what may happen is that companies will see what's going on, and they will say things like the vacancy for such and such must be fellow or must be working towards fellow. And if you want to move on and you want to progress and you want to perhaps move up the chain and things like that, it may be something that you have to do rather than you actually wanting to do it. With that in mind, I hope it doesn't. I think it's there at a level. What I'm hoping that doesn't happen is it kind of devalues CMIOSH and all of a sudden fellow becomes the new CMIOSH and everybody's chasing this and all that sort of things. And so there's a couple of things there. I think that market forces will dictate somewhat, regardless of regarding of where you want to go, and this aspect of CMIOSH still being seen as a high benchmark for an awful lot of people. And not everybody. I think there might be some forces pushing people and saying, well, my friend's got it and I need to go for this job and things like that. So there's a couple of things there, Jimmy, but I just want to make sure that IOSH are, and I'm sure they will be, that the CMIOSH will not be devalued and fellowship will still be seen as the peak, as the high point.
Absolutely, 1%.
Yeah.
And that's where it should stay. Absolutely,
Yeah.
Charlie.
Yeah.
I came off a council meeting. I chaired council. Was it last week? No, it was last week, and that was a great 2 days. And on the second day, we brought this up very often, and even our council members that you voted in, that 45 council representative group, are talking about this all the time. We are putting a large degree of pressure on, which we can't do really operational, but we can through the Board of Trustees, because those of you who don't know, the council hold the Board of Trustees to account, who then hold the leadership team to account. So my great relationship that I've now got with Peter Bonfield, I'm able to take those questions now and say to Peter, listen, this is causing a lot of angst now. There's, we've got different. There's going to be different names called to different things. Where's it all sitting? And that's all coming together. So the Director of Public Professional Services has gone on record to say it's going to happen, and we're looking at it, and we're making sure that it's going to be done in the best way. But I absolutely think you're right, Charlie. Chartered membership should be the part, and again, market forces need to go into that. I mean, you're seeing it all the time now, aren't you? It's still a certain named provider that you've got to have. They're not looking elsewhere still.
They're not,
Many years. No, I agree.
Sorry, Sonny, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say we've got about 22 minutes before we sort of close off. I want you to carry on with the professional development. What I suggest is that we sort of do a few more minutes on this, and then we've got a flow of chats coming in, different points. And I just want to emphasize to everybody who's watching that we're covering 3 topics: veterans, mental health, and professional development. So after Charlie's passed the baton over, if you have any questions, this is the perfect time to ask Jimmy, because not only would it help flow the conversation, but it will help Jimmy give some thoughts and maybe some of the things that could shape what he's doing at the same time. So bear that in mind, folks. Charlie, back over to you.
Thanks, Sonny. Just to finish, perhaps on a little bit of a high note there, and the other sort of burning topic that goes on behind this change in membership and things like that is people concerned about losing chartered MIOSH and going back to, I think it might be as an associate. It's quite a drop. As far as I'm concerned, the process of maintaining chartered is still going to be relatively easy. You're going to have to do your ethics course once a year. You maintain your CPD. You do a reflective statement. That's a reflective statement I did when I was doing a resilience leadership program.
Absolutely.
It's an A4.
Absolutely.
And it's not. I did that. It maybe took me an hour and a half over some coffee and things. I jotted it all down. Outcome of the activity. What's the further learning reads? Was my objective addressed? And away it goes. And as from my perspective, I think I want to make sure that people realise that maintaining CMIOSH, even with the blueprint and integrating everything else, is still going to be relatively easy. It's how the effort still needs to be put in, but it's not rocket science. And I think we have to bring things down a little bit, because there are an awful lot of people out there, Jimmy, that are going, I'm going to lose my chartered and I'm going to get knocked back You know, it's not. Stick to the program, do your reflective statements, get them logged in. Jobs are good in, you know.
Charlie, I was talking about, and you won't mind me telling, my director of safety is a great guy, Martin Wilshire. You couldn't ask for a more supportive line manager. He's awesome. He came to me yesterday and he said, Jimmy, he says, CPD, I think I'm doing too much. I said, what are you doing? And he says, well, I'm doing this. He said, am I able to do the stuff that I've been doing on my management course into CPD? And I went, really, Martin? Really?
You're asking the kind of...
Really? And he said, yeah. Can I said, you're supposed to be supporting me here and saying,
not the other way around.
And he just laughed and he said, I still didn't realise that. And you've nailed it, Charlie. You've absolutely nailed it. People are thinking too much about it. This is CPD. This hour is CPD. This here is CPD.
Yeah.
You're right, Charlie. And I think one of the things that I'm always banging on about, everybody I speak to, and I'm losing my voice a little bit because I'm so frustrated, is that CPD is so easy. It's just getting your head around it. That's it.
As anything else, as we dedicate time.
We get it, Jimmy. We get it.
And I think it's
Charlie. Sorry, Charlie, go on.
Too much chatter about it, James. But I think it goes back to what I talked about right at the start. The time now, the surveys, the discussions, and the niggling, the problems that are going on with the IT. IOSH need to move that forward. Let's get it moving. Let's get it started and support those people that need the help to get the CPD up and running and things like that. So,
my fantastic
back at your court.
Absolutely, my fantastically handsome personal assistant sitting in the corner there, otherwise known as Sonny Gopal, is going to note that one down for me to come back to you all with an answer to that question, Charlie, which I will do.
Good. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Brilliant.
First time I've been called fantastic and all that. Thank you very much, Jimmy. I really appreciate that. Charlie, Jeanette, Mal, thank you for setting the stage for those. For those centerpiece conversations. What I want to do is, before we go to Aaron and bring him in on a couple of things, I just want to catch up on the chats because it's been a bit sort of flowing there. I want to say, Non-Jabalu, lovely name. Listen, I don't think there's any problems with LinkedIn, although LinkedIn is a bit ropey now and then. We've had a few people commenting. If you're having problems, please jump over to either the YouTube channel or to the Twitter feed, and then do join us. We give multiple platforms. If I may, please, Jimmy, I just want to go through some of these chats that we've got. So we've covered this one about Rusty Earnshaw. Tim Ingram's coming in. He's saying about mental health in particular. Tim, nice to see you on the show. Tim is actually going to be our newest supporter within the stream team. He's kindly joining us soon. And he says, often he says it's reasonably well understood within HNS, but the psychiatric aspects, which are significantly more serious, tend to be poorly understood and often only managed, if at all, retrospectively. I think that's a good point, isn't it, Jimmy? We need to probably do a bit more.
100%.
Yeah, Gary, Gaz says, regarding veterans and coming out, I'm a trustee for homeless charity. I have a lot of ex-forces. Sadly, they struggle to integrate into normal life. Very, very true. We know about PTSD and all.
I'd just like to thank Monaghan while he's online for an amazing session he did with Colchester College a couple of weeks ago. It was wonderful, taking young 16 to 18-year-olds who are interested in health and safety and letting them know what's about. Thanks for giving up your time, Gary. Very much appreciated.
Fantastic. Yeah, Gaz and I are chatting next week because he's got some things he wants to offload on me. So I'm looking forward to it in a certain way. Let's see what he's going to say.
While I'm here, Sonny, Gary, can you drop me a line, mate? Because I'd like to find out how to become a trustee for any homeless charity that would have me in order to assist. So
fantastic.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Sonny.
And I'll mention it to him next week when I chat to him as well, that you asked that particular question. Wayne says, I served 21 years in the South African Air Force and resigned, and it was a struggle to adapt to civilian life, feeling alone, but needed to stay very connected. Wayne, join the IOSH group for veterans. You might find some solace with others if you haven't already. Yeah, he's already there, is he? Okay.
Yeah, Sonny, the other great thing, Sonny, sorry to cut you off. Going back to Charlie's point, Charlie, this is a great shout for Wayne. Wayne he's been in health and safety for about 20 years. He oversees lots of safety departments. He's the lead on SHEC, the whole lot. Hasn't got an IOSH qualification, has got master's engineering, the whole lot. Now, part of the new framework will allow those people that have got that massive experience, that haven't necessarily got a health and safety qualification, an engineering qualification, to come in and then start applying for charter membership.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's a good. The balance has got to be there, Jimmy. I think we dismiss an awful lot of people because they don't have this and that, and I think, but it's a broad church that you're all at the table. You're welcome. Bring what you can. And we discussed this before with Louise about people who are bringing more to the table and not just hazard and risk. There is multiple factors going on here, and we have to open up and listen to other people as much as anything else, you know.
And Charlie, as well as Mal and Jeanette and Aaron after this, can you contact me on LinkedIn, because I'd obviously like to have a chat with you offline as well.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, Sonny.
Yeah, so we've got a question, a comment which is tad controversial, caveated by Darren, which I'll go to in a minute. But before we do that, Aaron. Now, India's going through a very traumatic phase right now with COVID and the situations, over 250,000 people dead now. Mental health, well-being, all of those things, I guess, are very, very high on the agenda, aren't they? Firstly, how are you coping out there? And secondly, also, any thoughts on any of the conversations so far?
Well, it's too sad right now, Sonny, with the situation in India. Well, regarding me and my family is concerned, I'm fully vaccinated. We were almost the first people, at least in our surroundings, who got vaccinated, who had the knowledge. My father is a doctor, so at least he gave me enough knowledge to get myself vaccinated. And yeah, like you said, mental health and well-being is the number one issue right now facing India and all over the globe, especially India, you know, how things have been progressing. I don't know how it will come through. A lot of thanks to a lot of different countries who helped India with their aid and other support, and that's what India do need right now. Regarding the organizations is concerned, my area is in lockdown, so I believe there are more areas in India. There is no total lockdown, but there are a lot of small areas which are in lockdown. And so employees who go into an organization, they feel definitely challenged by all the health and well-being changes which they are facing due to the COVID times. So and like Janet said, I guess this is number one area which will be in focus in the future. A friend of mine is in biotechnology, and they also said biotechnology is booming, and everybody is now looking at making new appliances, medical equipments, and whatnot, and doing some new research in biotechnology. So this area is, going to increase a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, it's important that we talk about that piece. I know it fits somewhere in the discussions of mental health and other things as well. Let me now throw this question up from Darren, and it's a tad controversial. I said, what do you think, Jimmy, about this? He says, remember, veterans are actually very well prepared and trained to adapt, survive, and thrive in an environment. Whilst we may have our own unique challenges, I believe there are many people in need of support out with the veterans community too. But you're already doing stuff in that area, aren't you, Jimmy?
Yeah, totally agree, Darren, and Darren knows that. Yeah, and that's why he's just put that question out, just to not provoke, but to give me a chance to respond. Thanks, Darren.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why we set up both groups. And here's another great thing for you all, is that the whole aspect of having the mental health part was that part, and then having the veterans was that part. Those two groups are going to join and come together before the end of the year as well. And the great thing about it is that group will go on into next year. So what we've done is, what I've done this year in my presidency, and I don't think Dan knows this, is that we've now done it. We've done a new thing. So just let me get in a second. The president-elect now in council was always known as the president-elect. That president-elect is now known as the vice chair. It's a play on words, but it's very important for a number of reasons. One, when we go to the board of trustees, we're not going as the president and the president-elect, which are ambassadorial heads for IOSH. We're going there as the chair and the vice chair of council with real business. So in terms of that, the stuff that's happening on both of those groups is that when I moved to immediate past president, which a lot of people see as being, yeah, put your feet up now. I've seen this gig as a 3-year, we've talked about this, Sonny, it's a 3-year gig. President-elect, president, immediate past president.
Yeah, yeah.
So I will carry those two groups forward in my immediate past president year. So I will then take those groups away so that the president can then carry on with the president's 2 new focus groups coming in. So that work will all come together, and we will be looking at the larger piece, not just the veterans, but the vulnerable part as well.
Yeah.
Going down that road that Jeanette and I were talking about earlier on, scratching that stuff has been that tip of the iceberg that you're talking about, Sonny. Absolutely agree, Sutton. Thanks very much.
I mean, to be honest, we got about 10. Go ahead, Mal. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to add that to Darren's comment. Actually, and I will bite. In as much as he says that soldiers are actually well prepared and trained to adapt, survive, and thrive in any environment. Yes, they are, but, and it's a big but, that's generally an operational environment. It's not a civilian environment. And when you actually leave the military, when you leave the army, you don't have the support that you would have had in any other operational environment. So yeah, I will. It is controversial what you're trying to say, Darren, in as much as soldiers are adaptive and they can overcome. But when you lose that umbrella of the cover from the military, it's a very, very different environment. And I think for adults who have been in the army for 10, 15, 20 years, spending most of your adult life in that environment, to make a change is a very, very difficult transition. Some make it quite easily because they use a lot of their skills that they have been taught in the army and what they brought with them, and some are not able to do that.
Mal, if I may, I don't think you've stood on anyone's toes there. I think you talk about the belonging cues, and once you leave a family and you're out on your own, it's a different environment.
I didn't know you had to pay for water and council tax in the army.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had to make an appointment a week in advance to go to the doctor. I didn't realise I had to queue up.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Honestly, I'm being serious. I didn't realise. Honestly, I really did not know that I had to pay for dental appointments and pay for the dentist when I left the army. I was 40. Unbelievable.
You've literally reinforced. You've literally reinforced it. Hey, look. Let me try and do a summary here in the last sort of few minutes so that we can make sure we capture thoughts and everything. It's been an interesting show with Jimmy today, and we did it in such a way because we wanted to try and cover as many areas as possible. Believe you me, on the list from the March session I had with Jimmy, there were about 4 other items on there, but we covered 3 in this one, 3 which I think are really important: veterans, mental health, and professional development. Jimmy, I think it's true to say that we could have spent an entire hour on just one item. Right?
Absolutely.
It's easy to do, and we're very proud to have you on the show with the time you've given us. I wish we could have you every week to talk about these one by one, but that's not practicable. Okay, so let's do a summary. Veterans. If you're a veteran, and please everyone chime in if I've got this wrong in any way. If you're a veteran, you now have an opportunity, thanks to Jimmy for raising the bar and raising the profile through the veterans group on LinkedIn. It isn't IOSH specific. If you are a veteran, go to it, sign up, talk, network. Remember, connect, share, learn. Talk to people, and talking is good. Okay. Jimmy, just any thoughts on that before we move to the next one and summarize that one?
I think we mentioned it earlier on with Charlie, you know, that IOSH is a great place as well. Whether you're an IOSH member or not, get into that group. IOSH are supporting it, which is a great thing. And get in there and network. That's what it's all about. Going back to what Mal was just saying there, learn what it's like 2 years out, what you need to do before you come out. Brilliant. Yeah. Whatever year you're in, be it 9, 10, 16, 24.
Exactly.
Thanks, Sonny.
Now, then we talked about mental health, and we said, yes, we know there's an iceberg. As you said, Jimmy, the train has left the station. I am concerned about that. I'm concerned because we're going to have a lot of people who are going to come out of this COVID situation, and also, you know, other things, job related, all sorts of things. Jimmy, maybe there's something that we need to do here. Maybe we need to do some sort of a session or an event where we can talk about mental health, talk about what people actually need as support mechanism. Maybe that's not an IOSH thing. Maybe that's something separate. I don't know. Jimmy, what do you think?
What was that part again? Because I was just reading Gary's question. Gary, I've not mentioned Army once. Throw Mal under the bus. It's Mal that keeps mentioning Army. I keep mentioning veterans in the Army. Right, so Mal, throw Mal under the bus for that one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. Mal's on mute. He's ranting away. What
did I miss?
Sonny, I never got the last bit, mate.
Mal was on mute, so I don't know what he said.
What did you say, Sonny?
I was
keep him on mute.
Jimmy mentioned Army, but for Gary, I'm saying, what have I missed?
Nothing.
Yeah. Leave that one. Okay, leave that one. Just say veterans. All right.
Yeah. Just say veterans from now on.
Yeah. So mental health. Trainers left the station. Jimmy, could we do anything to help the folks out there? Do you have any suggestions? Maybe IOSH has something already in place. Anything that you're aware of?
Well, I'm taking that away. That great question from Jeanette, and one of the first people I'm going to contact is Keith Hall and Joe Price on the mental health focus group, and throw that straight at them. What are we thinking about? What are we looking at? You know, we know that train's about to leave the station. That's a great shout, Jeanette. That's one of the questions. I wrote it down when you were talking. Not saying all the other questions. Actually, I'm going to go back to you all separately. I want to contact you all independently after this. But yeah, that's a big question, mate. And there's so many different veins to that. Yeah. You know, the stuff that Rusty's doing as well. Sport can come into it. You know, how we're going to be looking after these kids as well. I mean, I say kids. I've got a 22-year-old kid that's going to be an Army officer hopefully in September, and he really struggled. So yeah, there's lots of issues. I don't know where to start, to be honest with you, Sonny.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm in a similar situation with kids as well. Okay, so we're going to do something. Maybe Rusty can be on a show in the future. We can catch up with Rusty on that particular theme as well.
Amazing guy.
Is he? Okay. Then let me talk about. Yeah. Go ahead, Jeanette. Go ahead.
There's so many sources on the IOSH website. Just go there, search for it, and try to educate yourself. At least there is available tools, kids, guidelines, research. Just go and educate yourself.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Thanks, Jeanette.
Thanks, Jeanette. Now, the last but not least piece is about professional development. I'd like to talk to you, Jimmy, about something a bit different, and that is we, the Stream team and RedRisks, are positioning a whole load of sessions on the Academy where we want to share with the world some topics that are very specific to health and safety and environment and other areas, mental health or whatever. Could you perhaps in the future allow us to approach you with a view to maybe talking about CPD and everything else, saying that if you guys attend this session, we can give you 1 point as a CPD or half a point or whatever it is, not because we want to increase the numbers and the viewings, but I think it's something that people will find helpful and useful in terms of, you know, getting them on board with something. Is that something that you'd be approachable about, Jimmy?
100%, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and stop you on that one. I had a good chat with Vanessa Howard-Witcher a couple of weeks ago, who's very keen for herself and members of our team to speak more publicly on platforms about CPD. How would that one grab you if I can approach Vanessa and maybe get one of our team to come on, if not Vanessa herself? Very busy with a handover from Deb. Let's look at that, and that's seriously. I'm sure Vanessa would be very keen. In fact, I think Vanessa would bite your hand off to have that opportunity.
Brilliant. Anything that we can do to cascade information, to live up to our mantra of connect, share, and learn, we're all well behind it. So I'm mindful that I shouldn't be talking so much. So I'm going to shut up, basically. But what I want to do is I want to say that there's a lot of people who are on chat, and I'm sorry if you had connection issues and we missed discussions and so on. One thing I've learned from this is that we need to maybe be very sniperish, if I can use that word, on conversations. Maybe we pick something very specific next time. You mentioned Vanessa there or Rusty, and we bring people in as well at the same time. JQ, would you like to have some closing thoughts on this before we sort of sign off and catch up with you again soon?
Yeah, well, once again, Sonny, absolutely humbled and delighted to be given the opportunity to speak on your platform. The stuff that you're doing is absolutely amazing. The stream team, everything. I'm hoping I'm going to get promoted at the back end of November 2022 and become a member of this outstanding team of individuals that you have. And then, some of the subjects, they are touchy subjects. Now, I don't think you're going to get many presidents like me in the future that will be so open and honest. So take it while you can get it, because I will continue to answer the challenging questions. The more challenging, the better. And even if that does cross the line, sometimes I'm big enough to take the slap in the wrist. In terms of what all of your panel and Charlie, Jeanette, Aaron, and Mal giving up their time makes it even more special. I'm the president of IOSH. It's my duty to get out there and represent the membership and try and get out there and assist them in any way. Your time is more important than my time, because you're not doing the role that I'm doing, but you're there to support me, which is very humbling. And that's why I see it as you supporting me, which is just outstanding. I will do anything I can and continue to do so to support this amazing platform that you have, mate. Thank you.
We're very honored, Jimmy. You're always pushing on an open door with us. The invite is always there. And thank you so much for your time and your patience. We're just going to cue out with the music. I can but apologize. It's been a very busy show with all the content. If you missed on something, do reach out to Jimmy. In fact, reach out to anyone on the team here and let us see if we can guide you with some of these questions and some thoughts that you have as well. Other than that, all I've got to say is tomorrow is our networking event with Malcolm Shields, construction safety back to basics. As Charlie said, what the hell does back to basics mean, right? So we're going to have to cover that one with Malcolm. And thanks for putting me in touch with Malcolm, Jimmy. I'm looking forward
to that. I'll be there as well, supporting each other.
You can throw some tomatoes at him. All right. So other than that, Jeanette, Mal, Charlie, Aaron, Jimmy, Quinn, thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
We'll catch up soon.
Good night.
You're all wonderful. Thank you all. Stay in touch. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching that live event. If you want to be notified of future live events, head over to our website. There's a form on there. Hit the subscribe button and I'll update you whenever live events come up. I promise you, no spam. And finally, we do have a YouTube channel. It's just simply RedRisks. Please subscribe and help us. Let's connect, share, and learn. Thanks. Catch you on the next live event.